So welcome to our first of our free weekly virtual workshops that we're going to be hosting from the Office of Economic Empowerment. My name is Shaitia, and I am the Senior Program Officer for the Office of Economic Empowerment, which is an office under the Office of the State Treasurer and Receiver General. A little bit about these Money Talk Tuesdays. It's our new program. We are going to be hosting Money Talks every Tuesday with different financial topics that relate to people and programs across the Commonwealth. So just a quick little agenda. I'll go over what the Office of Economic Empowerment is, any disclosures that we have, and then I'll introduce your presenters from EF Financial. And then following their presentation, we will have the opportunity for question and answer. So a little bit about us. The Office of Economic Empowerment is a department within the Office of the Treasurer and Receiver General. We're tasked with supporting, advocating, and facilitating policies that empower all Massachusetts residents. Our programs serve women, families, high school students, veterans, and seniors. And our priorities include closing the wage gap, increasing access to financial education, improving affordability, and investing in STEM careers and education. Our disclosure, this is a Zoom webinar that will be recorded. The recording will may be uploaded onto public websites for future views. Any information shared through the question functions will be anonymous. Please note, however, that the chat record is subject to public record laws and as such is not anonymous. So some housekeeping, this is a webinar, so it's not going to be set up how your traditional Zoom meetings are. So you will not be able to view other participants, and the host can call participants to answer questions. I can unmute, but we probably will not be using that feature. So we're going to suggest that you use the raise hand feature. If you're not familiar, it's at that bottom bar if you're on a tablet or a computer. And there's also the Q&A feature or the chat feature that you can communicate to us. If you have a question, I suggest you leave it in the Q&A box because then we can answer it live, but we can also have somebody respond with text so you can see it at a later date. And then finally, we will be sending out a post survey after this webinar, and we are encouraging you all to take some time and fill that survey out so that we can continue to improve this program and in future programs. That allows us to get feedback and do better in our next one. So thank you. Without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to our lovely presenters from EF Financial. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, you can email us at moneytalk@tra.state.ma.us or in the chat and Q&A feature.
Great, thanks, Shai, and thank you so much. You should be so proud of the work that you all are doing at the Economic Empowerment Office. It's really great, and we're so fortunate. We feel so fortunate to be here to reach out to the women of the Commonwealth and really just to have a conversation around managing your finances during these unprecedented times. It's unreal.
Yeah, we're honored to have this partnership with you, Shai, the Office of Economic Empowerment, and with the Financial Planning Association of Massachusetts. So thank you to you and to Kristen for bringing this program to people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you know, Eric and I have talked to so many women across the state, and we understand how these times have drastically impacted our lives, our financial lives, and we hope that some of the information that we're going to talk to you about today can provide some help in some way.
Yeah, we feel like we're being part of the essential workforce by meeting with everyone today, and hopefully we can help even just one person make a good financial decision.
So just a little bit about us before we get started. So we are part of EF Financial. Eric and I have been partners at EF Financial for 17 years now. We are proud to be a women-owned business. We are based in Charlestown, Massachusetts, and we work with what we say are very strong, independent women, and we help them through their financial lives at all stages. And as women, Eric and I talk about it all the time. We feel that we take on more of the burden during crises, right? So we're continuing to work. We're continuing to support our families. We're continuing to make sure dinner's on the table. We are doing the laundry. And Erica, if I cannot count the number of dishes that I've had in my sink since I've been homeschooling over the last few weeks, we, as mothers, we're trying to, manage our children's life and create this new normalcy for them. And I have learned emphatically that I am not really qualified to do even 4th grade math right now. It's unbelievable how hard this is.
Well, it does give you a new appreciation for teachers and other essential
Absolutely.
personnel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're also daughters who are trying to care for our parents where you can't even see them right now. And these are some of the many stresses that we face. And on top of all those domestic stresses and challenges, money problems are just add to it. So
yeah, it's a big part. Yeah, it's a big part. And, we want to talk today about opportunities and programs that are out there to help reduce these money stresses. And I just want to say, to all of you wonderful women out there, no matter who you are, if you qualify for these programs, take advantage of that. We're telling you now, please do so. You deserve it. You work hard and you've earned the benefits of these stimulus programs as much as anyone else.
Absolutely. The programs, they're designed to help maintain continuity in our economy and also your own familial economy. And even if you might think, oh, my neighbor needs it more than me, I don't really need it. Well, it doesn't matter. It's there for you and you deserve it as well.
Absolutely. So before we go into the details of the various stimulus package, I just want to talk about one particular tax situation. So today, Erica, is normally an extraordinarily busy day in our office because
it's very frantic. The day before tax filing day, we get lots of phone calls from very frantic people.
Yeah, we're typically sending off last minute tax statements or accepting last minute IRA contributions. But that day, tomorrow, April 15th, has been extended to July 15th for everyone. So I just want to say, Erica, do not plan on taking any vacations on July 14th this summer, okay? It's not going to be approved. Okay, so know that those extensions have been automatically extended to you as a filer. There's nothing that you need to do. However, we do have some tips that if you typically get money back when you do your taxes, I would go ahead and encourage you to file and take advantage of that and put that money in your pocket again to help stabilize that family economic that Erica talked about. So go ahead and do that. If you are someone who typically pays into the system at tax time, you can go ahead and file. However, you do not need to pay those taxes until that July 15th date. So put a big heart on that date on your calendar and just, make sure you get that done by July 15th. Now, if you are someone who typically pays estimated quarterly taxes, you don't have to pay those. Those two have been extended to July 15th. So those April 15th quarterlies and June 15th quarterlies are not required to be paid until the July 15th date. So I know we have some poll questions, Shai, if you were going to pull those up. We just kind of want to get an idea as to who's out there and how this pandemic is affecting you. So I know there's a poll question, I believe, that's going to be displayed. So just take a quick moment to answer this. Which of the following best describes your financial situation during this COVID-19 pandemic? Not sure how long it takes to get a response, but we're curious here.
As people come in and vote, I can see about half of you guys have voted. We're still going to wait for the rest of you guys. I do know that some of you are on the phone. At this time, you won't be able to participate, but we'll shout those numbers out after. And people who are voting, it's anonymous, so you don't have to worry about your names being recorded. We're just going to see based on who's attending, where we're at financially.
Okay, so Shai, what I'll do is I'll just wait for you to give me the green light to move ahead once we feel that a lot of those people have responded.
Okie doke.
Great. I'm very curious to see what these answers are.
Just gonna wait for a couple more.
And I assume you're just touching the screen here, right, Shai?
Yep.
Great.
Or you're clicking.
Or clicking. Oh, yes, I have a touch screen. Or you're clicking, right?
All right, so I can share the results. You should
Oh, okay.
see all the results.
Wow. This is actually quite surprising, and it's actually really good to hear that you ladies out there are surviving and staying strong and haven't really felt that much of an impact. I mean, certainly some of you have, but that's really interesting.
That's great. Although I think some, it's going to be that ripple effect.
Yeah.
Like you had a friend who was just laid off today. So,
yeah. I know. I would be curious if we do this again and maybe ask the same question to see if we see trends out there, see if this changes over the weeks to come. So let's talk about how, what you can be doing and what resources are out there. And one of the first things that we wanted to talk about today is the CARES Act and what it is. So the CARES Act is the Corona Aid Relief and Economic Securities Act, and it was a law that was passed by Congress on March 27th, so just a few weeks ago. And what it is a 2.2 trillion, yes, trillion with a T, aid package that's available to Americans to help us get us through these times. It's over 880 pages long, and Erica, you've read almost all of it, right?
That's what I've been doing with my quarantine time.
Yeah. And it's actually the largest stimulus package in US history. And if you were just to sort of get a grasp as to how big this number is, if you were to convert $2 trillion into 2 trillion seconds, it would be over 63,000 years. I mean, this is a huge number. And so as we go through some of these specifics, hopefully everyone here can recognize some opportunity to take advantage of it.
So the most direct impact and help that's on the way is in the form of the tax rebate or the stimulus check. And 90% of the population is expecting to receive this money, whether it be direct deposit into their account or mailed to them. So who gets the check? Well, it's any adult who has earned income or adjusted gross income in the amount of $75,000 or less, or if you're a married couple, $150,000 or less. Now, it does phase out over $75,000 and $150,000. And if you earn AGI, if your adjusted gross income is in excess of 99,000 or 198,000, then you're not going to get a check at all.
Erica, and maybe you can just define what adjusted gross income is.
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's sort of a confusing thing, even for people who deal with it all the time. But adjusted gross income, AGI, is a combination of all your income. That would be your W-2 income, your 1099 income if you have it, self-employed income, dividends, interest, all that is added together. And then you get to take your qualified deductions. Probably the biggest one would be your contribution to a business retirement plan or an IRA. And then what's left after that, that's your AGI, and those are the numbers that they're using.
So, okay, so we know what the phase out is. It's 99,000 for an individual and 198 for a joint. So let me ask you this question. Let's say I had a really good year when I last filed. I was, let's say it was 2018, my income went above the AGI limits and I had a really good year. But I've lost my job and I don't anticipate to have that much income. Does this mean I don't get a stimulus check?
No, there's good news and there's bad news.
Okay.
So the good news is, yes, you will get the stimulus check. So when you file your taxes in 2021 for the 2020 calendar year, like essentially 1 year from now, or 1 year and 1 day if you're going to file it on April 15th. And if your income falls below the limit, then you will get credit for the tax stimulus check at that point. So that's an excellent question. So in addition to, as an adult, you getting your stimulus amount of $1,200 or up to $1,200, you also may receive a $500 check for any and all dependent children that qualify.
Then who is a qualifying child?
Well, the definition is the same one used in the regular tax code, and it's a child up to the age of 17. So really what that means is if your child is between 17 and 24, you're not going to receive a check for them and the $500, and they're not going to receive a check. Now, if you're out there and you're listening and you happen to be between the ages of 17 and 24, but you're completely independent, i.e. nobody else is claiming you on their tax return as a dependent, whether it be you're a college student, but you work, you have income, even if you don't file a tax return, then you can get the stimulus check. You are entitled to the $1,200 amount for yourself.
As long as your parents aren't claiming you as a dependent, right? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And then when, the most important question of all, when can we expect these checks?
Starting right now.
Great.
So for your last tax return, when you filed it, if you have a valid checking account tied to it, then you could have already received your check. I would check my balance in my checking account if I were you. Now, if the government deposits money into a checking account for you, some sort of direct deposit, for example, if you receive Social Security retirement income or Social Security disability income, then check your account. You could also have received it. Now, let's say you don't file a tax return because you don't make enough money. There is a IRS .gov portal, which I think Shai will put on the screen, that allows you to go in and put valid banking information in the portal so you can get it direct deposited. Now, another situation, what if you have changed banks since you last filed a tax return? There will be a portal available for you by the end of this week where you can go in. This is on the irs.gov website, and you can put in your new banking information and get the direct deposit. But let's say you're an unbanked person, you just don't have a bank account. Well, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna get your check via the US mail, and those checks will begin to be mailed the week of April 20th, well, which is this week. But understand that's a much slower process because they're actually printing and mailing and checking addresses, so don't expect that right away. Lastly, they're gonna be starting one more portal at the end of this week that's going to allow you to go in and check the status of when your check is going to be coming to you. So we'll have this portal available. It's basically irs.gov for coronavirus. It's a non-filers enter information portal. You can really see it on the site, but we can put it up after, Shai. And
I was going to say, I put it in the chat.
Okay.
So you guys should be able to copy and paste it into your browser, but we're also going to be sending out information post this webinar. So you will eventually get this one way or another. I did want to say before you moved on that there was a couple of questions.
Okay.
The one, what if you owe taxes?
Yeah, it's more like a tax credit, like an earned income tax credit. So you're still going to get it.
So even if you owe, you'll still get your tax. You still get that check.
Yeah. Now, you're not filing your, so we don't really know that if you owe or not, because, well, if you owe, you're not really going to be paying until July. Next year, when you're filing your 2020 and 2021, it's unclear how that is going to be handled, but it's considered like an earned income tax credit. So it's not going to have anything to do with what you owe.
Yeah, and you should still get that check based on your 2018 or 29 tax filing, what your income was in those years, regardless. You still should get that check.
So if you owe for 2018, 2020.
Well, essentially, if you owed for 2018, you would have already settled up with the IRS.
Okay.
Was there another question, Shai?
Some people, I see, what about people receiving retirement?
Yeah, if you're receiving retirement and it's being directly deposited into an account, as most of the Social Security checks are, that's where your stimulus check will be deposited.
Yeah, I told my mother this and she couldn't have been more happy. She just kind of went through the roof. She's like, couldn't believe she was going to get this
I
check.
know some people think, oh, if I'm retired, I'm not working. So why are they replacing, why are they doing this? But they are. This is a very broad, comprehensive package, and retired people are going to get the stimulus as well.
Another one I see is, are those checks taxable?
They are not taxable.
And then finally, I see, what if you didn't file taxes last year?
So you can go on to the website that you posted in the chat and put your banking information there. So if you didn't file yet for 2019 and you didn't file for 2018, presumably they don't have your banking information. Go into the portal and put it into the portal. So it's also time for our next poll. If you want to pop that up on the screen, and we can also answer questions simultaneously if there's still any left.
Yeah, this question, which of the following statement best describes your current situation? Shai, are there any questions there that we could address while we wait? Or is that?
One in our Q&A, and it says, I have 3 children between 1 and 6, but I'm only receiving $650. Why would that be?
$650 for, I'm not sure what that is, because you should receive $500 per child unless you're divorced. Then if there's a divorce situation, you only get a check for the child you claimed in your last filing. You should be getting the $1,200.
Yeah, maybe you're over the limit, the income limit. Have you been phased out? That's a question. Yeah, we'd have to, we're happy to help anyone after the fact. If you would like to talk directly to us, we're happy to help you best that we can.
Okay. I see another question that says, what about if I still owed money from previous years to the IRS?
Yeah, I'm kind of unclear on that. I don't think it's going to have an impact. If you're already in a payment plan with the IRS to pay a certain amount, I don't believe that this impacts any prior packs, that you will still get this stimulus check.
And then I think we might have mentioned this already, but is there somewhere folks can check the status of the check, or is that coming down the pipeline?
By the end of this week, the irs.gov will have a portal specifically for you to check the progress of when yours is coming. And as a note, the only issue I believe that does impact you getting your stimulus check is if you owe back child support. That could impact and would impact your ability to get your check.
Yeah, and I also want to say too that we just heard of the first person getting their check this weekend, right? Earlier this week. So I talked to a lot of people who haven't received it yet. So if you haven't received it, it's not out of the ordinary. I know they're sending these checks out as we speak. So, it might take a few weeks, and don't be concerned if you haven't received anything yet.
All right, it looks like everybody got to answer our poll. I'm going to end it and share.
Working my regular job. So that's very consistent with the answers to the prior poll.
Yeah, it's really it's a really good to see these strong numbers. And again, it's not everyone is in that continuing business as usual. But I thought what we would do next is talk a little bit about, for those of you who have been impacted, the unemployment benefit and how it's sort of been reworked under the CARES Act. So, I mean, these polls are really interesting because I don't know if you know, or Erica, you and I have talked about this. 1 in 10 Americans right now has filed for unemployment benefits. It's a huge number of Americans out there. And I know typically within the state of Massachusetts, about 30,000 people per month file for unemployment insurance. And right now, we're looking at numbers as 30,000 a day. So can you imagine taking your monthly workload and putting it into a daily workload? I mean, the numbers are overwhelming. And the poll, it's really interesting how you know,
And
have.
it's not impacted this group of people, and thank goodness though for those essential unemployment insurance workers. I mean, they're really keeping business going. So
So
very
grateful for
grateful.
all of you that are out there. But let's go ahead and just talk about some of the eligibility requirements for those of you who have been impacted, your job has been impacted by this. So first of all, if you've been laid off or furloughed, you're going to qualify for unemployment insurance, which is very typical. That's just standard requirements. But under the CARES Act, there have been some added classifications of people. And one of those are individuals who have had to stop working or quit their job because they're impacted by the COVID-19, whether it's because you've become ill or you've had to take care of a family member that's become ill. Your children don't have daycare, they're home from school and you don't have daycare to them and you have to stay home and take care of them. These are now reasons where you can apply for the unemployment insurance, where typically they wouldn't be. You can't quit your job and apply for unemployment. But again, they're extending this benefit to this classification. I know someone who filed for unemployment about 3 weeks ago, and she just started getting her checks this week. So we know that, you know, going online and filing is working. It's not instantaneous, but they are being very accommodative through the mass unemployment website. In addition to this benefit qualifying is people who are self-employed or contractors. Typically, these is a classification who wouldn't qualify for unemployment benefits, but now it's being extended to these individuals. And the reason is we don't want to see a disproportionate amount of small businesses go under, right? We want to support our local restaurants, our hair salons. We want them to be there for us.
Our dog walkers.
Dog walkers. I mean, we want them to be able to support themselves and support their businesses so that when we get through this, and we will, you know, those businesses that we rely so much on are still going to be there. Some other changes or scenarios that are offered through the CARES Act is the benefits are paid through the end of the year. Typically, there's only a 26-week period where you can accept these benefits. Now those benefits are going to be extended through December. Another benefit that's added on to the standard unemployment insurance is that $600 per week per filer will be given to you. So you're looking at potentially $2,400 a week in additional a month in additional unemployment insurance benefits. And that's something that the CARES Act has granted to the states to support and help the families of the Commonwealth and states across the country. So it's easy to enroll. Erica, I know you helped someone enroll online.
15 to 20 minutes tops.
Yeah.
So you have to be accurate as you.
Yeah, so one of the things I would highly recommend is you're going to go to mass.gov/DUA, Department of Unemployment Assistance, and put all your information. I strongly suggest that you put in the information 100% accurately, because if there's an error or something's not computing, you're going to go into the queue and they're going to have to follow up with you.
30,000 people ahead of you.
Yeah. So just try to be as accurate as you possibly can to help expedite the payment. Now, if you are self-employed, the system has never recognized you as a recipient of unemployment insurance. So the state is waiting for guidance from the federal government. And in addition, they're having to build in all of these qualifiers on their system. So they're not quite ready to accept your application, but keep checking back daily. I did hear Governor Baker discuss last week that he's hoping that portal will be available to self-employed individuals by the end of the month. So I would just encourage you to keep looking and know that, just don't give up. Those benefits will be available even to those self-employed individuals. And I know, Erica, we wanted to talk about how we had a client, you were talking to her, she's a small business owner and had to lay individuals off. And those individuals didn't want to file because they didn't want the stimulus of filing for unemployment. How do you address those?
The stigma of that, yeah. So I just stress the importance to her to inform and educate her staff about the benefits available. These are really tough times. and for everybody through no fault of their own. And the government is stepping in to make sure that people can survive this. It's not a time for stoicism or shame in taking these benefits. In fact, it's most important to take advantage of these funds, use them to survive, or at the very least to shore up or create your emergency plan, emergency savings account that you are using or maybe didn't have to begin with. So speaking of emergency funds, we have another poll about.
Poll, I'm sorry. I wanted to share some questions that came up.
Oh, sure.
I see, what about if your unemployment ran out? Can I still get unemployment?
So you've already been and went through your unemployment.
Your 26.
Your 26 days. Well, I don't know, because I really don't know. The rule says that it has to be your unemployment to get this special benefit, like the $600 from the, has to be of the pandemic. So I'm not really sure. I would suggest a call to the unemployment office to talk about your specific situation.
Yeah, because if you had filed for unemployment prior to the pandemic, I don't know if that would be, you would still qualify. I would recommend them reaching out, and we can maybe follow up because I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
I also see in the chat, we have one that says, I applied and my claim was approved, but when I apply for benefits each week, they say I'm ineligible to collect during this time. I've left callback requests and have not heard back from them yet. Is there anyone that I can reach out to for help regarding this?
I don't know. Do you have any resources, Shai, in your office?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I do know that individual cities have their own little unemployment office. We have a client who works for one in the town of Salem. So maybe as opposed to reaching out to the general number for unemployment, you just dig a little deeper and try to contact the town that you live in.
And so I have an attendee that suggested the state rep, your local state rep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually a great suggestion to reach out to your, they're working for you and they want you to take advantage of these services as well. I think that's a great suggestion.
Another question we have is, I have many friends that I think you talked about this. I have many friends that are sole proprietors. What provisions exist for them in terms of collecting unemployment?
Yeah, so typically they would not be eligible, but because of the CARES Act, they will be eligible for unemployment insurance. The only caveat to that is the system isn't quite yet ready to recognize these individuals. I know they're working so hard behind the scenes to build all of the support within the online portal. So again, hopefully by the end of the month, that will be ready and they'll be able to apply. So
there are also other resources for small businesses. There's the payroll protection loan. There's another business loan, and there is a finite amount of money in those. They're looking for additional stimulus package to add to that. But I would suggest if you are a sole proprietor that you look at through your bank, that you do your business banking and get an application in to one of those loan programs as soon as possible.
And that's all for our questions for right now.
Okay. So let's go ahead, Shai, then and do the poll just to get an idea. Do you have money saved for any of the following goals? Please select all that apply. And maybe if there's more questions too, we can address those as we wait.
Okay, while we wait, I have, may seem like a silly question, but can you apply the stimulus check to the taxes you owe?
Yeah, so you're going to get that check. And first of all, not a silly question. It makes perfect sense. And what a good opportunity to have these funds to pay those tax bills. So yeah, so you're going to get that check. You'd have to deposit it in your bank if it's not already being deposited for you. And you can just save that and file your taxes, use it for those July 15th tax filings that you're going to do.
That's right. But, also make sure you're looking at this the right way. This is your opportunity to, if you don't have an emergency fund, maybe to be using these funds to start that emergency fund. So again, if you already are on a payment plan, just look at your situation and make sure you're using the money in the best possible way for you.
I'm gonna give a couple more seconds to folks who haven't answered the poll. If you are not on your desktop or on the app, it might not show up. So some of you folks might not get the poll. And then also for our 5 folks on the phone, you won't be able to see the poll, but the poll is asking about money saved for goals, including emergency expenses, large purchases, education, retirement, and other. All right, I'm gonna end it now and we'll share.
Wow.
Great. This is a really great group.
I'm so proud of all of you out there. Good job. That's so good.
76% have an emergency fund, which is great because I think that what we've seen through this crisis is many Americans are woefully underprepared for an emergency. So yeah, it's great that people are listening to our spiels when we go out.
I think the women of the Commonwealth are extraordinary after all, so it actually shouldn't be a surprise. Come on.
Okay, so if you're, hopefully the combination of your stimulus check and your unemployment insurance, if you're collecting it, and your great emergency funds, that you have sufficient resources to get you through this time. But if not, the CARE Act provides other options for you to access your retirement fund. So if you've been negatively impacted financially and you absolutely need to, you can take a hardship withdrawal from your retirement plan. So that's a penalty-free distribution of up to $100,000. Now, it is penalty-free, but it's not income tax-free. But you would now have up to 3 years to pay the tax liability on that withdrawal, or better yet, you can take up to 3 years to put the money back and eliminate the tax liability altogether. You can now take a loan from your retirement plan. The amount you can borrow has gone up to $100,000 or 100% of your plan, your account balance, whatever is less. And if you have an outstanding loan and you've been paying monthly on that loan, or you lost your job and you're like, oh my God, I can't pay that loan back, you can defer paying that loan back till next year. On the IRA side, the same thing applies. If you're under 59 and a half and you need to tap into that IRA, that 10% penalty will be waived. The taxes, however, you have to pay, but you have that same 3-year period of time where you can pay the taxes, or better yet, pay yourself back so you aren't robbing your future self to take care of your current self. And across the board, required minimum distributions, that's for people now who are over the age of 72, have to take money, those have been suspended. Even if you've already taken money for your R&D for this year, you can put that back and sort of reverse that. So those are the things that we have that is available on the retirement side. And Shai, we have another question at this point about, do you currently have any debt? Which I don't meet many people who don't, but let's get an idea. Maybe this group will be, of course, they've been stellar. Maybe this group will have the no debt. So let's see what that poll says. And we can also answer any questions if we have them.
Yeah, any questions, Shai?
Do the delay on taxes only apply to people under 59 and a half?
No. It's the under 59 and a half is the elimination of the 10% penalty that you would normally have if you were to take money out of your retirement account.
Otherwise, the 3-year rule would still apply. I'm assuming that they're talking about the delay on the taxes coming out of the IRA. So even if you're over 59 and a half, you can still put that money back into your IRA over the year period.
Sounds like, it looks like somebody's trying to raise their hand, but I can't see who. Again, I just want to remind folks that this one and the last one, but this one has multiple options, so you can click more than one if you want to.
Shall we should have put a none option for this
I
group?
realize that now we should have put a none, but it's not in here. Next time.
Yeah.
All right, Eileen, do you have a question? Maybe we'll get that person to get into the chat, maybe. Okay.
Oops. No, she wants to tell everyone she has no debt.
Okay.
Bravo.
Yeah, that's so great. I love it. Okay.
All right, I'll end this now. So anybody last minute? All right, here we go.
What do we got? Oh, student loans, mortgage. Okay.
Credit card and other.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about some ways that you can help manage your debt liabilities. One of the features of the CARE Act is for those of you who have student loans. I mean, I know we've talked to many women young women across the Commonwealth who have done such an amazing job getting themselves through school, and they should be so proud of themselves, but now they're burdened with this student debt, which sometimes absolutely blows my mind, the amount of debt that some young women have. And I've always found that no matter what it is, they've been so dedicated to making those payments. It's a priority. And I'm always so proud in how they manage that liability payment. But here's an opportunity through the CARES Act where you can actually defer those payments through September of this year. So maybe this is an opportunity for you just to take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to pay this back. I can wait until September. There's no penalty to you. There's no added interest to you. It's not going to impact your credit score. And as Erica mentioned earlier, and we actually had this discussion with some women out there, even though you might be able to pay it, think of this as an opportunity for you to defer it and take that, what you would normally put towards that loan, and put it in an emergency fund for you. This is a great opportunity for you to start building an emergency fund. Again, we all know the importance of it, you know, having gone through this type of experience. So something to think about. You want to reach out to your lender, make sure it's a qualifying loan, and take advantage of this opportunity. I always find there's not a lot of flexibility with these student loan out there. So this is a great opportunity for you to take advantage of that. So some other things that aren't necessarily covered in the CARES Act, but we've learned about through talking to our clients and individuals out there. One thing to consider, just to help, again, maybe your cash flow situation, is reaching out to your mortgage company for a possible mortgage forbearance. And you know what that is again, it's sort of a deferral on your mortgage payment for a certain amount of time. Again, interest-free, penalty-free, not going to necessarily impact your credit score. So we've been hearing about this from our clients, how they've had some success there. And I reached out to my mortgage company just to see what that feature would look like. I reached out to them about 4 weeks ago and there was no forbearance offered. I reached out to them last week and they've had a different story to tell. So if you reach out to them, they might give you a scenario like mine. And again, every lender is different, but they might say, okay, we'll defer your payments for 3 months, no interest, no penalty. And at the end of the 3 months, we're going to reassess. You can either pay that back in a lump sum, or we might be able to work out with you that you pay a little bit more in your mortgage payments going forward to make up for that 3 months. Or there might be a term available to you where you can tack that forbearance period on at the end of your term. So reach out to them and have a conversation. And your recommendation, Erica, would be?
Yeah, it's just really important to understand the contract you're signing. You don't want to assume that you're paying at the end of the 30 years and then all of a sudden at the end of 3 months, you owe this lump sum of money and you're unable to pay. So really take your time, think about it, and make sure that the forbearance that they're offering, that you understand and it's the right thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I hope we're empowering you with information so that no matter what changes you make, you are asking the right questions. So
Yeah.
just be smart and don't put yourself in a situation where you have a surprise. One final thing, you know, we've just kind of heard about this a lot in the headlines lately, but
I have
auto.
one more thing after that too. One more
Okay.
thing I
Oh,
learned.
you do. Okay. So, a last minute tip from Erica, but your auto insurance people, companies are offering refunds because why? We are not commuting, or if you are commuting, you must be loving it because there's no traffic out there.
Driving
So
through Boston is amazing.
yeah, I mean, like, when does that ever happen, right? So accidents are down. You know, we're putting less mileage on our cars, and I know a lot of these companies are issuing checks. So if you haven't received a check or haven't heard from your auto lender, give them a call. Reach out to them and see what you're entitled to in regard to.
So to that same vein, Rachel, gym memberships. So the really big gym clubs, they're stopping the systematics on your membership because they're obviously not open and you're not using it. You know, I don't know about the little ones, but the major chains are doing that.
Yeah, I'm with Gold's Gym member, and I know that they put a pause on that. That's a pretty big change.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That adds up, right?
Yeah, and I've been doing the classes online. It's like, it's good. So we're getting it done and
Yeah.
free of charge for this point anyways. So that's it. I know we certainly want to address any additional questions that you have today or many suggestions for future money talks. You know, we're open to your ideas and questions and concerns. Anything
Thank
out
you.
there, Shai?
I do have some questions in our question box. They are kind of, some of them are going back to the retirement question. So this first one is, if your spouse has lost their job, hence no deposits into a 401k, should I think about increasing the contributions to my IRA until my spouse is working again?
That's a good question. Well, I would start with, are you contributing enough to get the match in your 401k?
Yeah.
And if not, then yes, take that opportunity to at least get the full match. After that, really, it's a decision you have to look at your own cash flow. So, you know, during this short period of time, in retrospect, that we're going to be in this situation, it's okay that you don't have, you know, 15% going into your retirement plan. Just make sure you have enough to get the match, your full match from your employer. And, you know, again, maybe use that extra money to shore up that emergency fund that you might be tapping into now because he lost his job. Anything you'd add to that, Rachel?
No, and I say if you still have that excess cash flow, maybe the unemployment is helping you with the additional $600 a week, and so you're okay. You know, just make sure that you first are maxing out your 401k before even, you know, maybe putting money into an IRA. It might not be a qualified deductible contribution. Check with your tax advisor, but I would maybe first look at your own 401k and make sure that you're maxing out at the 19.5 or 26,000 if you're over 50. And talk to your tax advisor for sure.
Another question we have was about dependents. So this attendee had asked about saying we're phased out, but have 2 young adult dependents. Will they be eligible? And something else to note is that the dependents are working and they're only covered for medical insurance. Would they be eligible for the stimulus?
Not if you're claiming them as a dependent on your own tax return, they will not be.
If they're over 17 or over, you won't get that check for $500. Neither will they.
Neither will they, right.
Another question we have is, are other loans being deferred? Do I need to reach out to my credit card, car loan folks myself?
I haven't talked to anyone that has worked with their lender on that. What I'm finding, you know, that might change, you know, there's sort of trends that are happening. So the first auto insurer or whatever who was going to refund their check, all the other auto insurance, or many of them, sort of jumped on board. I would just keep reaching out and having a conversation with them, and maybe some policies will change. There's no mandate through the CARES Act at this point, but you know, maybe just for the reputation and the right thing to do, there might be some waivers there, but I haven't heard of any. Have you, Erica, heard of any sort of?
I've not.
Keep us posted if you have heard of anything.
Yes, Share. I have, do we know where the IRS link shared? Can we update our bank account info for direct deposit? And
Yes.
where on the IRS link that we shared, can we update our bank account info for deposit?
That link should take you directly to the portal.
Should we be using the same link as non-filers enter payment?
No. If you're updating a checking account because it's changed since your last tax filing, that's a separate portal that's not operating yet, but should be operating by the end of this week.
What should I say to my credit card company if I want to take advantage of the no interest and fees?
I'd like to take advantage of the no interest in fees, please.
No, I would just tell them of your situation, tell them your story, why this is important, why you're looking for this opportunity. They're going to understand what's going on in the world and see what they'll do for you. And if you do have any luck, please share it with us. We would love to hear. Just be truthful and honest with them.
I have a question about what students should do at this time. I imagine are there any programs for students or anything that we're hearing that help alleviate students at this time?
Just the student loan program.
Yeah.
Other than that, that unless they're not a dependent on their parents' tax return, there's no stimulus for them. They kind of fall in between the cracks there. And essentially, they are, encouraged to, go back home to be taken care of. That's sort of the reality of that, that section of people.
I was planning to buy a car this year to increase my mobility and job potential. This would be a major purchase for me. In the current economic climate, what is a smart way to go about this?
Well, hopefully you can, first of all, afford to have, the car. So you've saved for it, you have this money. What I have been hearing about, which has been kind of interesting, a lot of these cars are making offers where you don't have to pay for, the first, 3 months or 6 months. There's a lot of push for you. They want you to buy cars because there's a slowdown in that particular segment of the economy. They want to buy you cars and they're making these really good offers. Interest rates are very low. So I think financially, if that was part of your plan and you've saved to do that, this is actually a really good time to
Good opportunity. Agreed. I actually was looking through car ads last weekend, thinking I might take advantage of this very thing, and there was a lot that were offering 0% financing, which is a gift.
Yeah. So good luck with that.
Yeah, interest rates are at an all-time low. They are so favorable. So if you have good credit, you can take advantage of some really good opportunities, whether it be maybe refinancing your mortgage. But by the way, you can't have a forbearance and do a refinance. So you can do one or the other. But it's a good time to take a look at those, your credit card rates to bring those down, and car loans at zero, and everything we just talked about, which is very opportunistic if you have good credit.
I have a few more questions coming in, but I just want to remind folks that it is 12:54. So we may run over. If you take $50,000, say, from retirement, one, is there a calculator to see or determine what the taxes could be? And two, is the government considering that $50,000 you take as income on your taxes?
Erica, you want to talk about this?
Sure, yeah. So you're taxed at whatever your ordinary income tax rates are. So you can go on to Google or go onto the IRS website and say, what are 2020 income tax rates? And you can see where you fall or where you think you'll fall, because we're all very uncertain what our income is going to be for 2020, but that will tell you where it is. And absolutely.
And the 50,000 is added to any other income that you've earned through the year. It's just considered ordinary income.
Yeah, so you're taxed on that money, and so yes, you have to pay the tax. It is due, but you can take 3 years to pay it. That's the benefit.
So you can move it you can move it back into your retirement account, and then you don't have to pay taxes on that $50,000 if you can put it all back in within that 3-year window.
Can a furloughed employee apply for unemployment?
Yes.
It's exactly what it's for.
Yes, and do it. If you are furloughed, do it as soon as possible. Go to the website. I know we put it on there, mass.gov/DUA or DUA, and apply immediately. You are entitled.
I file taxes, but I pay a little bit each year. The IRS link isn't clear. Do I wait for the new portal that appears to be coming out shortly?
So what you're saying is that you pay taxes, but you don't file a tax return? I'm not really sure. If you have a checking account linked through your last tax filing, that's where it will go. If not, you can go onto the portal, the irs.gov portal that is on the chat, and put your banking information in there at this time.
I'm gonna just share that again for folks. And then finally, participant says that their American Express card did defer their payment easily when asked.
Oh, great.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think I saw a couple more pop up here. Any adjustments to what types of funds you should be putting money into right now in a 401k?
So we've been asked this question, and first and foremost, keep putting money in your 401k if you're in a position where you can. And we know a lot of you out there can, because your financial status hasn't been greatly impacted. So continue to put money in your 401k. And like Erica and I always say, whatever your allocation was in January, and assuming it was the right allocation for you at that time, it's the right allocation for you today. We know we've seen some pullbacks in the market, but I wouldn't change your strategy. Just keep putting money in that's most appropriate for your long-term goals, without a doubt. And don't stop. You know, we know that the investments in your 401k are a lot cheaper today than they were in January. They're basically on sale, and who loves a good sale, right? So keep putting that money in. And again, if it's the right long-term allocation, just keep doing what you're doing.
All right, the last question that I see is, I have a question about unemployment. Will people receiving the unemployment be getting extra $600 a week plus whatever they were approved for weekly?
Absolutely. So the state is responsible for paying unemployment insurance. So you go on in the state and you would get what you would typically get, whether under the CARES Act or not. You're still getting what you qualify for by the state. But the federal government is sending to the state an additional $600 a week for every individual that applies. So on top of your regular unemployment insurance benefit, you're getting $600 a week.
And then I think this is, wait, we have one more. Okay, so this says, can a car company charge a fee when you ask for a deferral? We bought a car 2 months ago, then got laid off. Be careful on new car buying. The car dealers run these commercials, but the deals are based on the bank and the dealer that they run your credit through. In our case, we bought a brand new Ford, but the loan was done through PNC. PNC did maybe defer the payment for 3 months and then tacked it on at the end of the loan, which was fine. But they're charging us a fee on the interest on the 3 months of principal while we don't pay, which is about $400. Is that allowed?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. And this is where it comes to just make sure you're asking all of these important questions. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some, I don't know, we're going to learn a lot through this, and we're going to learn through you. And
so I don't think that's regulated under the CARES Act, so they can. So you bought your car through Ford, but you financed it through PNC. So it's the policies of PNC that you're dealing with now. And since it's not mandated in the CARES Act, I think that it makes sense to me that they can charge some sort of fee. Kind of like when you do maybe a credit card transfer and they charge you a 1% to move your balance over, something similar to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take these last two questions, and I'm going to encourage folks that do have any additional questions, you can email us at moneytalk@tre.state.ma.us, or you can contact our lovely presenters. We're going to provide contact information in that email that we'll be following up with our survey, and that's also another way to communicate with us. So actually, I'll take these last 3 questions because this one is kind of like a twofer. Does the $600 for unemployment come separately, or does it come all in one lump sum?
So my experience is with the person that I help file is they got their state unemployment together, and then it was a separate direct deposit for the $600. Now, I don't know if that's how it's always going to be. Maybe it's because it was the first one. So, but his experience was it was a separate direct deposit.
But I think they come around the same time, because the individual whom I spoke with that got her first payment this week got both payments this week, even though they were separate. So they might be separate, but they're probably in line with, you know, receiving it at the same time.
And is that is everyone who applies for unemployment getting that $600 base?
Yes.
And is that one time, or is that going to continue for weeks?
You'll continue to receive that through the end of the year.
Or until you're employed.
Or until you're employed, absolutely.
And then, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to clear them as I go. Can a car company report you to the credit bureau if you cannot pay at this time?
I believe,
beyond my knowledge,
yeah,
but I would imagine, I don't know.
There's no mandate in the CARES Act at this point, so it's a possibility, I guess is what we'll say. We don't have a definitive answer for that, but I think at this point, they probably could. I would just work with your lender to see what they can do and what, you know, options they can make available for you. Or if you're getting this stimulus check, maybe you can use that to help keep those payments current.
Yeah, and one suggestion would be to contact the financing company and work out some sort of deal. Say, you know, I can't pay the whole amount, but I can, you know, if say you're, you know, out of your unemployment and your stimulus check, I can pay $100 a month or anything, so that they know that you have good faith and you're putting money towards it, as opposed to just being delinquent.
All right, I do see one last note that I think might be a good suggestion as far as those questions we were having about if car banks can do those fees.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested calling the AG's office hotline regarding the legality of those types of practices, because we're really not sure, but that would be a resource I would go to ask those types of questions. Finally, I want to thank you guys for presenting our first Money Talk. If you missed the beginning, we will be having recurring Money Talks every Tuesday on different financial topics. We did partner with EF Financial and the Financial Planners of Massachusetts to put these on. So we will be hosting other ones with related financial topics in the future. So do follow us on Facebook, the Office of Economic Empowerment. If you have any questions or need resources, anything you want related to this webinar, you can email us at moneytalk@tre.state.ma.us. And again, we will be sending out a survey following up this webinar, and we can hopefully stay in touch. And thank you all so much. I don't know if you guys have any closing words.
Just good health and good fortune.
This is great. It was a bright spot in our days, which can sometimes be not so bright as we manage through this. So thank you for the opportunity. It was great hearing from you all, and much good health to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shai. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, thanks, Shai, Kristen.